Today, we are getting into one of the most serious environmental challenges we face, deforestation. We're going to unpack the powerful forces that are clearing our planet's rainforests, one by one. So let's start with a number, 7%. Right now, that's how much of the Earth's land is covered by rainforests. You might be thinking that doesn't sound like a whole lot, and you'd be right, especially when you see where we started. And this is what puts it all into perspective. It wasn't that long ago that rainforests covered about 14% of the planet. That means we've cleared nearly half of them, mostly in the last century. The sheer scale of that loss is just staggering. And it really sets the stage for everything we're about to get into.
Okay, so for our first section, let's really dig into the scale of this crisis. We'll look at what deforestation actually is and why the disappearance of these incredible ecosystems is such a big deal.
You know, at its heart, the definition is pretty simple. Deforestation is the cutting down and clearing of trees. But the key part of that sentence, the part that matters, is on a massive scale. We are not talking about a little bit of landscaping here. We're talking about wiping entire forests off the map. And the consequences of that? Well, they're huge. Rainforests are these incredible hotspots of biodiversity, so when they go, we see a massive loss of species. They're also like the planet's lungs, you know? They store incredible amounts of carbon, and when that's released, it directly fuels climate change.
And that brings us to the first major driver, a hunger for land. Turns out, one of the biggest reasons we're clearing forests is to eat. Our global demand for food is having a direct and pretty devastating impact on the ground.
And here's a crucial piece of the puzzle. A massive driver of deforestation, especially in the Amazon, is commercial cattle ranching. I mean, to meet the global demand for beef from places like Brazil, huge areas of forest are just cleared away for pasture. Our food chains are literally connected to this destruction. So how does all this land get cleared so fast? Well, the most common method is called slash and burn. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Vegetation gets chopped down, it's left to dry out, and then it's all set on fire. It's brutally fast and effective. Now here's the wild part about this method. There's a trade-off. The ash from all those fires actually pumps nutrients into the soil, which makes it fertile for a little while, for farming or grazing. But that very short-term gain comes at a gigantic cost. All that burning releases enormous amounts of stored carbon directly into the atmosphere. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The cattle themselves produce methane, which is a greenhouse gas that's actually even more potent than CO2. On top of that, even more land has to be cleared just to grow the crops, like soy, to feed all those cattle. It's a problem that just keeps compounding on itself. And it's not just cattle feed. A whole bunch of other crops are driving deforestation. We're talking about major cash crops, products grown specifically for export. Things we all consume, probably every day, like palm oil, coffee, cocoa. They're often grown on these huge plantations that used to be thriving rainforest.
You know, when you replace a diverse, complex forest with just a single crop, you get a whole other set of problems. Without the deep, tangled root systems of the forest to hold everything in place, heavy tropical rains just wash away the topsoil. And all the chemical fertilizers and pesticides they use, they run off into rivers and can eventually create these huge, polluted dead zones in the ocean.
So it's not just about what we grow on the land, it's also about what we can take from it. And that brings us to our next major driver, the extraction of resources like timber and minerals. The global demand for beautiful hardwood for things like furniture and flooring drives a huge logging industry. Some woods, like mahogany, are so valuable, they're sometimes called red gold. And because there's so much money in it, illegal logging has become this massive, almost impossible to control problem in these huge remote forests. And this, of course, has a profound human cost. Indigenous communities, like the Yanomami in Brazil, have lived in these forests for generations. When logging companies move in, it often leads to violent conflict, the destruction of their homes, and it introduces new diseases that their communities have no immunity to. So, along with logging, you have mining. The search for gold, iron ore, and other minerals means clearing enormous areas of forest to create these vast open-pit mines. I mean, just look at the Carajás mine in Brazil. It's one of the biggest in the world. It's a permanent scar on the landscape where a forest used to be. So let's just break this down for a second. With logging, the big story is often illegal operations and that direct, often violent conflict with people. Mining, on the other hand, is more about this permanent, large-scale change to the land itself, plus the chemical pollution that can poison entire river systems for decades. Okay, our final section looks at a driver that's a little more complex: development and infrastructure. This one is a real double-edged sword, where the promise of progress often comes with a really steep environmental price tag. It often starts with just a single road. A road gets built to access a new mine or logging site, but once it's there, it acts like an artery. It opens up the forest, triggering this cascade of new settlers, new farms, and more loggers, who clear the land all along its path. And then you have the dam dilemma. On the one hand, hydroelectric power is a source of renewable energy, which is good. But to build a huge dam like the Belo Monte in Brazil, you have to flood these immense areas of rainforest, completely destroying habitats and forcing entire communities out of their homes. And for those communities, the impact is just devastating. This isn't just about losing a house. It's about losing everything. Their entire way of life, their cultural identity, their ability to make a living, it's all tied to that forest that is now completely underwater. So to pull this all together, this chart really shows the big picture. Agriculture, you can see, is the overwhelming driver, but logging, mining, and new infrastructure all play their own significant destructive roles in this story. And this, right here, this is the crucial takeaway. This isn't some problem that's just happening over there. The beef in our burgers, the coffee in our cups, the furniture in our living rooms, even the electricity that's powering our devices right now. All of it can be connected back through these complex global supply chains to the fate of the world's rainforests. Which really leaves us with one final and kind of tough question. If global consumer demand is the engine that's driving all of this, then the real question we have to ask ourselves is this: what is the true cost of the products we use and consume every single day?